Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unposted Podcast. It is Tuesday. Yes, because that's when my podcast drops. I'm a little bit delusional today. I woke up yesterday not feeling very well. So if it sounds like I don't feel well and I'm congested, it's because I am. So yesterday I woke up and I didn't feel good, but then I continued to go and run 5 miles and lay in the sun, and now I'm sunburnt, if you can see that. I have some nice tan lines going on. And then, last night I was like, ooh, I really don't feel good. Just achy, not feeling well. And then this morning I woke up and I wanted to run and get my workout in, but, didn't feel good. So slept in. I'm super congested. So I'm so sorry. But this is what I get for procrastinating. Because I definitely procrastinated this episode. Just because, life is life and you don't feel like getting all ready to be on camera sometimes. But of course, I actually, just little life update. I am signed with an agency. It's like a print commercial agency called Naturally Fit. And I've been signed with them for a while, but I'm finally getting new headshots next week, which I'm super excited about. I'm getting very commercial fitness headshots, which I've never gotten before. So I'm really, really excited for that. So of course, over the last week and this coming week, I was like, I'm not going to take a break with working out. I'm going to work out every day, just so you feel better on your headshot day. But of course I get sick, the week before. It's next week. So hopefully I can feel better and get back, into my routine. But that always happens to me is I have things set up that I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. And I finally set a date for things. And then, you get sick and random, just life happens, but always when you don't want it to. It's always when you least expect it to. But anyway, today's episode is about anxiety. And if you know me, if you're close to me, you know that I have pretty extreme anxiety. And if you're new here and you don't know me that well, it might look online as though I don't have any anxiety because I do have I have a pretty outgoing personality, but in certain situations, I get so anxious, at least once a day. I have panic attacks, all the things that I feel like you would not even know, if you were to just look at my Instagram and maybe not listen to me talk about mental health or anything like that. I do a lot of comedy sketches and I'm very bubbly and open online. That's my brand and personality. But the things that you don't see is that I struggle so hard with anxiety and being in my head and panic attacks. And I have for the last, almost 10 years now, pretty extreme. To be honest, I didn't even want to wear makeup for this episode because I'm already feel like I'm going to cry because I'm an emotional little girl. I'm so emotional. But I think looking back on my life, as I was a kid, different things like that, I definitely can see anxiety and how it's kind of taken a toll on my just mental health from a very, very young age. So I kind of just wanted to walk through that. And this is not an episode where I'm going to give you advice to get through your anxiety, because to be honest, I am still figuring it out. And I have great days, I have great weeks, I have great months, and then I go back into a shell of being an anxious person. And so life is definitely like this, but there are some things that I have discovered that have helped. Looking back, I'm like, oh, during that period of time, I was doing this, this, and this, and that's why I wasn't as anxious. And the times I've fallen off of feeling good is whenever I've stopped certain habits and routines, which I can get in at the end. But this episode, by all means, is not me being an expert on anxiety, because again, I struggle with it every single day. I have for a long time now. And if anything, I just want this episode to kind of be, something that if you're watching this and you have anxiety and you're going through anxiety and you feel alone in the struggle, in the journey, because it is very lonely, that I hope that, you can watch this and be like, oh, okay, this girl that looks so fun and outgoing online actually has so much internal anxiety every single day. So if I can relate to people, that's cool. And if you have any tips to give me and things that have worked for you, please please put them in the comments, DM me, because I always want to connect with people that also have anxiety, because I know there are like so many different levels of anxiety and it affects people in so many different ways, in so many different scenarios, and there's so many triggers and everybody's just so different. But it's always nice to kind of like have somebody that, you know, is kind of going through the same feelings, because sometimes anxiety makes you feel crazy. And I've thought that for like every time I have like a panic attack or something, you feel like out of body, and it's very like, I'm crazy, like I am losing my mind, and it feels like that. And I feel like people that don't have anxiety definitely sometimes can look at people with anxiety like, oh my gosh, like they're just like they're like out of their mind right now for no reason. And it's a lot deeper than that, and it is hereditary. If you don't believe that, go do your research, because it is hereditary, and it is a chemical imbalance in your brain. So I just kind of want to walk through from the beginning. My life, I think looking back, I have had anxiety since I was a little girl. So I know I've said this in previous episodes, but I did gymnastics pretty seriously at a really young age, and I was thrown into some pretty high stress situations that involved like, you know, high stress on your body physically, you know, constantly competing with other girls, constantly being compared on your strength level, your body type, stuff like that in gymnastics. And along with that came a lot of, I think because I was so anxious about performing perfectly or doing things so perfect, I like became a very shy, very, very shy person. Like I would go to gymnastics and not talk to people. Like people would literally be like, my name is Lauren, by the way. I go by Liz now, but at the time it was like, Lauren, why don't you talk? What's wrong with you? Like they'd ask my mom, like, what's wrong with her? Like, why doesn't she talk? Because I literally would not talk. Like I wouldn't even say hi. And then they would harass me like, just say hi, just say hi, just say hi. And like, little did I know, like I even thought in my own mind, like at age 8 years old, like there is something wrong with me that I can't even say hi. Like I can't even talk to people. Like what is wrong with me? Like I remember thinking that at a really young age, but I was so scared to talk and say the wrong thing. And I definitely think that's carried throughout my life. Like I've tried to push down this thought that I'm stupid and that the things that I say are not worthy of hearing. And which is so ironic because, getting emotional, because I'm like sitting here having like the strength to get up here and like talk about, you know, mental health and things that I've struggled with. It's just such a 360 or 180, whatever the term is. It's like such a turnaround, because I never in a million years would have thought I'd be sitting here talking. And if you guys don't think this is like hard for me, like I get anxious every single time I have to press play on camera, or I'm in front of a camera on a set, or I have to talk, or I have an interview, or just in a social setting. Like I've continuously pushed through that anxious feeling. Like I love talking to people and connecting with people, but it's not always easy. Even like sitting here by myself with 2 cameras, like literally nobody's here, like I still get anxious, and I'm like, why am I anxious right now? So I do feel like that has kind of been my life since I was a little girl, where I am socially anxious. I do feel like, oh shit, am I going to say the wrong thing? And like people are going to look at me funny. Like I remember being in school, and like I was never the sharpest like tool in the shed in school. Like maybe because I didn't like focus. I could not focus for the life of me. I was always thinking about dance or something else. But like teachers would call on me, and I would like sit there and not even know what the question was because I didn't listen. And I would like be so scared of like looking stupid, which in that moment, I'm pretty sure I looked so stupid because I was like, I'm not even paying attention right now. Like much less do I know the answer to your math problem. Like I was not good at math. I was not good at science. So like that school was a very anxious environment for me because I just didn't feel like I fit in. Like school was like not for me. My brain, I was like somebody that I felt like I couldn't sit still. I couldn't like I was such a perfectionist. Like I'd be taking notes like on my notebook, like looking at the projector, like trying to write it perfectly. And if I messed up a word, I would erase it or rip out the page and start over from scratch. And then they would skip next onto the PowerPoint. And then I missed all of the notes because I was so worried about being so perfect with my handwriting that only I was going to see. Like I'm still that way to this day. Like I'll write I'm like, oh, I don't like my handwriting and that. I'll rip it out and I'll start over. So anyway, that's like a side note. That's an OCD episode because I am definitely like extremely OCD and a perfectionist. And like I feel like I'm like this like itch inside of me when things are not perfect that I work on I literally have to work on every single day and like be like, dude, it's not that big of a deal. You're not gonna die if you don't like get your ponytail center in the perfect position in your head and like do everything perfectly. Like I have to remind myself like the world is not gonna end if I don't do those things. But anxiety kind of has gone along with that perfectionism that like, you know, I don't want to look stupid. I want to look perfect. I want to make sure people perceive me in a certain way. Like so many things that I feel like come from like the role of like being a perfectionist has caused so much anxiety in my life because I'm like, oh, what if I don't do things perfectly? Like, what is this outcome going to be? And it's like, girl, nothing is going to happen if you're not perfect. But that has been my struggle growing up with anxiety, that I still do carry a lot of those things today. Like I am very much a perfectionist in things. And yeah, I don't know. It's like every like little things, like George will be like, why are you freaking out over that? I'm like, I don't know. Why am I freaking out over that? I know it's not that big of a deal, but my perfectionism and OCD kind of go hand in hand with my anxiety, and it's just like really annoying, and it's a control thing. I'm like a major control freak. Like I like everything to go perfect. I like everything to be my way. I like to be in control of every single situation, which we'll get into a little bit here in a second. Because yeah, lots of things kind of pile on top of each other with anxiety that I'm like finally figuring out like my triggers and different things that like I'm like, wait, that's not normal and I don't have to freak out over that. So it's a work in progress, definitely. But having anxiety and being thrown into the dance industry, into a world of the unknown is like honestly not for somebody with anxiety. I feel like I work a lot better like with a structure, which I try to kind of create for myself because I do work for myself and I do freelance, and like life is like very up and down, which is so interesting because I feel like my personality and my type of like how I operate and how I become anxious is like if I have a structure and a stable, like this is my day to day, every day, like this is what I'm going to do. This is like how the day I'm going to clean my house. This is the day I'm going to organize everything. This is the day I'm going to do this. Like I run on such a structured lifestyle that it's really interesting that I'm actually like freelancing in my, like, I don't know what next month is going to look like. I don't know what jobs I'm going to get paid with next month. Like, I like a lot of it's unknown, which I think adds to the anxiety and the stress because everything's unknown. And a lot of times you're not in control of your life in this world. Like, you know, if I had a stable 9-to-5 job, like I'm in control. Like I get to wake up and do everything that I can do in the morning. I go to the job and then I come home. I have my stable income, my paycheck that I know I'm going to get. I know my bills. I know everything. Everything is so organized. And sometimes I'm like, maybe that lifestyle was for me. And I'm like just torturing myself every day. But then I also get a lot of, you know, freedom from doing the things that I'm doing now, which I do love everything that I do. I just wish there was like a middle ground, which it's kind of hard to find that in the industry that I work in. But throwing myself into the dance industry, again, it's always comparison. It's like showing up, not knowing like how things are going to go. It's like, oh, I wonder how I'm going to do today. And I wonder how this audition's going to go. And what if I don't get this? And what if I do get this? Then I have to go to this city and then I have to travel. But then if I don't get this, like everything is like so crazy. So that has been my experience. Like it's gotten to the point now where any audition, anything that I have to get on camera and do, it's hard. Like, it's not easy. Like, it's easy once I'm in it and I know what I'm doing. But before that, the unknown of like auditions, the unknown of the job. Like, I almost went to South Korea like a couple months ago for a job, and I didn't know I was going until literally the day of that I was supposed to leave, that they ended up pushing the job, which is great. But little things like that, it's like with the entertainment industry, it's like I got my dance scholarship and I had to move to LA in 2 weeks, which, yeah, at the time I was like, I love this, but oh my gosh, like if I were to like be like, oh, you're moving here in 2 weeks, like I would figure it out, but anxiety would come with it. So I've definitely gone through phases in my life where I have extreme anxiety. So with that anxiety, some of the symptoms that I get are like, it's so hard to explain, especially to somebody that doesn't have anxiety. Like, the feelings that I get are like, my heart is stopping, I can't breathe. Like, and what's crazy is that I've been having panic attacks for probably 10 years now. And at first I'm like, what is happening? Like, even to this day, it's really hard to recognize when it's a panic attack. And I'm like, every single time after I'm like through the panic attack, I'm like, of course that's a panic attack. I've been having them for 9-10 years now. Of course that's a panic attack, because it's the same every single time. But still to this day, every single time I get a panic attack, I think I'm dying. Like, I tell George, I'm like, we might have to go to ER. Like, I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I'm like gonna pass out. Like, just the weirdest situations. And for me, it's hard because I'm still navigating what my triggers are, because they literally will come out of nowhere. Like, I will literally be sitting on the couch watching TV, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe. And I'm scared for my life. I'm shaking. I have tremors, like constant shaking, constant tremors. Like, I'm constantly anxious. And I'm just like, gosh, why am I like this? And I do think over time, the industry, being thrown into the industry and like having the ups and downs and like a lifestyle that's not stable at all is stressful. So like my mom, she's told me, she's like, you've never been this anxious in your life. Like, what? Like, you're scared of everything. Like, whew. Like, I'm literally scared of everything. And like, I was never like that in high school. Like, I'm like, every situation I'm in, it's so weird. Like, I literally see the worst in every situation. Like, I'm walking down the street, I'm like, that guy looks really scary. What if he came and like attacked me? Like, you know, or like, oh, I'm driving in a car by myself in control of the wheel, and I have these thoughts of like, oh my goodness, like, what if this car just swerves? And, you know, just like the most like irrational thoughts that, you know, can happen and are real and do happen every single day. But like, my mind is just constantly trained to see the worst. And maybe it's because I've been through some traumatic experiences out here, and maybe that's just how I'm wired now. But it's like, having to navigate that and get through that is really difficult on the daily. Because like, I don't know if you guys know, but like a few months ago, I live in downtown LA, I was attacked by a man on the street. I'm like, great. I swear, like, all these things, they come to me. Like, I'm like, am I just a red waving flag for like things to happen to me? That's what I feel sometimes. I'm like on the street, I'm like, I'm already anxious with people. Like, I'm already scared of people. What is happening? Like, it was like 9 a.m. one morning on a route I ran outside. Everybody's hustling, bustling, going to work, you know, doing their thing. And a guy, a complete, like, a safer area of downtown, and lots of people out. Like, it's not like I was like running at night, like in a dark alley. Like, girl, like, you would never catch me doing that. But in broad daylight, people working, unloading stuff into like buildings, like moving, like people at bus stops, hanging out. Like, it was like the most random, like, this guy charged me and kicked and kneed me right in my side, and I had a bruise, but like, luckily I like am a pretty quick runner and I could run away pretty quickly. But like, things like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm traumatized. Now I can't run outside. And when I do go outside, I literally see everybody as a target or as a threat to me. Like, I'm a target in every situation. And I'm really working on getting out of that mindset and like working through that. But it's definitely difficult. And I know that like I can't live. It's, you know, people always say, don't live your life in fear. And I work every single day to not live in fear. But it's harder. It's definitely harder. It's easy to say whenever you don't have anxiety and you don't live in fear. It's hard when you don't live in fear and you are totally not anxious. Like my sister Emily, like she's not anxious. She's not anxious at all. She's like, you're freaking out for no reason. I'm like, I know I am. And that's what's funny is I know I'm freaking out for no reason. Like I know what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling is not rational, but I still feel it. And unfortunately, this is just what you're going to have to deal with. So I feel bad for like George and like my family. Sometimes they're like, girl, you need to chill out. Like every single time I get on a plane, gosh, could you imagine me on a plane? Like, I'm so sorry for anybody that's ever traveled with me because I'm literally like a shaking freaking mess. Like I'm a mess. And I've definitely learned to internalize those feelings a little bit more. Like I've passed out on planes. Like I go up and I literally think I can't breathe. Like every sound I hear in the plane is like, oh my gosh, we're crashing. Like it's like you guys are probably looking at me and listening to me thinking I'm freaking insane, but like that literally is just my anxiety. And I've come to learn through talking to a lot of people that it is the control aspect of life that whenever I don't feel in control of my situation, I get so anxious and like I have to let go of that control. And that's where I talk about God a lot because I really feel like that mindset of like, if I'm meant to die on this plane right now, like it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, girl. Like you just need to let go. And it's like, if I'm meant to die tomorrow, it doesn't matter if I'm on a plane, in a car, laying in bed, like that is gonna happen regardless of the situation I put myself in. Of course, we have to put ourselves in safe situations, but like airplanes are the safest form of travel. And I still like, I have to fly in 2 weeks to all the way across the country by myself to a bachelorette trip. And I'm terrified. I'm like genuinely like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared to get on a plane and fly by myself, not having anybody with me. Like, and what's crazy is I work in an industry where I am constantly traveling. I live across the country from George's family. I live across the country from my family. I've done international jobs in India and Dubai. Like I've traveled a lot, and I still to this day, like I hate it. I hate traveling. I even hate being in a car with people. Like I'm definitely like passenger princess telling George what to do, where to stop. Did you see the red lights? But it's not because I don't trust him. It's because like I am so like a control freak that I get so freaking anxious if I'm not in control. And even when I am in control, I'm still anxious. So it's just not as bad. But definitely something I'm working through. I don't know if you guys have any experience like with anxiety from like a control aspect. Like the feeling of not having control of your life is like scary. So, but you don't have control of your life. That's the thing. Like a lot of things are not in your hands. Like you can control the situations that you put yourself in, but after that, a lot of things are not in your hands and they're out of your control. And it's like how the world is just meant to run. And I'm trying to accept that more and more every day. And I think I have gotten to a better spot mentally. But, you know, there have been times like I was in Dubai for half a year and like I considered moving to Dubai, and I came home and I had a complete full body shutdown. Like I was in the hospital, like my body was shaking nonstop. And ever since that period of time, like it was like a couple months of me like having full body like palpitations like and tremors and like waking up in the middle of the night like with nightmares, like really intense anxiety that at the time I literally thought something else was wrong with me because my symptoms were so weird. And even recently I've like thought something's wrong with me, but I really do think it's just my anxiety because I have been diagnosed with chronic anxiety, and there have been things that have helped me a lot in that process. But yeah, I've the amount of times I've gone to the doctor, like, you know, had freak out, like panic attacks has been like, honestly, at this point, I can't even count them on two hands because they just happen out of nowhere. So yes, anxiety is not fun, and it keeps me from going out and socializing. It keeps me from, you know, doing new things. It keeps me, honestly, from like traveling, even though I will travel if anybody offers it to me. I'm never looking for a reason to leave the house, if that makes sense. Like, I always tell my friends, like, I literally don't leave my apartment, and that's so true. Like, when I go out, it's on a rare occasion, and when I have plans to go out, a lot of times I will find an excuse not to go because I'm so anxious. So just something that I've dealt with literally since I've moved to LA, which is like crazy. It's almost 10 years ago now. But it's interesting because I have like a good half of me is very fearless. Like, I'm not afraid of anything, but like also with that comes so much anxiety. So it's like learning to balance it, trust my gut, but also not freak out in the process. Yeah, anxiety's bad. And I know a lot of you guys probably look at my social media online and think, oh my goodness, she's so fun and outgoing. And if you don't know me, you know, that's probably the perception that you get, which I do think I'm fun and outgoing, and I have a great personality when I'm comfortable. But the things that you don't see is the time before I have to go out, before I have to be on camera. You know, when I'm laying on my couch at night, like overthinking everything, and I go into a spiral, and then I give myself a panic attack. Like, those things I don't document, you know, the same way as I document like the positives in my life. And that's why I like wanted to just kind of talk about my experience and my journey with anxiety, because it is a non-ending journey. There have been times where I have been so healthy mentally, and I can tell you that the things that have helped me with that has been working out is my biggest form of stress relief. And everybody thinks I'm crazy for running 5 miles, 6 miles a day, but I don't even run for like the physical side of it. It like literally clears my mind, and it gives me so much peace in my mind. Like, I don't know what it is, but running is like my miracle drug. Like, every single time I stop running or I stop working out for even a week period, like, I feel more anxious. I feel more on edge. I don't feel as happy. So that honestly is like my biggest thing, is like going to the gym, working out, you know, doing things that really help my mind. Journaling really helps me. I love journaling. I love reading when I can get myself to do it. I have a really hard time reading because I hate reading, like the thought of reading, but after I read, I do feel so much better. And then just staying on a routine. Like, I am structured even whenever my day is like, I don't even know what the heck I have. Like, this week, I'm like, what the heck do I have going on this week? And it gives me so much anxiety. But even structuring out my days, like on the things I'm going to focus on or I'm going to work on, even if I don't have any real, you know, pressing tasks that I have to get done, still structuring out my days helps me drastically. But the number one thing for me is running and like being outside, walking. Those things have really helped my anxiety, like so much so that like it disappears at times, like fully. And yeah, I definitely recommend running, jogging, getting outside, talking to people. That's why I call my family so much, because it's a sense of like security. Ugh. And now, Mom, you have a full-time freaking job that I can't call her as much. She gets so annoyed with me when I call her like a million times a day. But it like having that sense of like home has helped me, because it makes me not feel, it makes me not feel so lonely, you know, having like family to talk to. I'm like, hey, I'm feeling this, like I'm literally losing my mind. And like to hear somebody say, it's just your anxiety, like it's okay, is like so peaceful for me to hear. And like, it's crazy how family can help you get through those hard thoughts. Hold on. So yeah, I know a lot of you guys will probably be like, get on freaking medication, girl. What is wrong with you? And to be honest, like I have considered it. Like a million times. I've been told a million times by doctors, my family, like, you probably need to get on medication. And then I find these things that help my anxiety. I'm like, oh, I just need to work out. I just need to like stay consistent, which is very hard to do all the time, you know, and that stuff does help. But to be honest, if I'm being honest here, I have so much anxiety with taking medication. Like, how silly is that? Like, I literally have a phobia of taking medication. Like, the only medicine I take is ibuprofen when I have like cramps, or like Tylenol when I have a really bad headache. But even if I have like a slight headache or slight cramps or whatever, like, I will not take anything because I am anxious of medicine. And, you know, it's probably because I was put on medication when I was sick like a few years ago, and they like definitely overdosed me. Like, they gave me a really high a high dose of what I was supposed to be taking, and I was so sick. I felt so weird. So there's been several times in my life where I'm like, I feel like I react to medication so strongly and weirdly that I'm like terrified to take anything. Like, I won't even take, like, I'm congested. My parents are like, take Sudafed. I won't even take Sudafed, like, because I'm weird. Like, I'm like, I have a phobia of taking medication. And so it's something I'm working on. And if, obviously, I feel like if I take the medication, it probably will make those thoughts go away. Like, I'm like, girl, just freaking take it. Figure it out. But I know that's also a long journey and process to finding what works for you and your body. And it's something that I have considered a million times. So if you're out there and you are on medication and can convince me to like maybe look into it, please send me a DM, because it's, you know, something I am scared of. And again, I'm even scared to take ibuprofen. Like, I'm ridiculous, I know. But that's like a phobia that I've had for like a long time, is like taking medicine, which is so weird. And I don't know when I developed that. But for a long time now, I'm like scared of taking medication. So anyway, right now running is my drug. Running is what gets me through. Like, I don't drink that much because it causes me so much anxiety. I don't smoke at all. Like, oh my goodness, like, catch me around smoke, I get anxiety. Like, my heart starts fluttering, like crazy stuff. So I stay away from all that stuff. I stay away from partying because partying stresses me out and makes me anxious. I don't go out late at night because I'm scared. So there's a lot of things that I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, like, you need to relax and live a normal life. But I don't think I can live a normal life at this point. So yeah, that's my journey with anxiety, and it's honestly Spark Noted version, because there's been so many times where I've had like broken down panic attacks, and I've been like a major burden on people's lives. Like, and I use that word because people have told me that in the past. So that's why I like hate my anxiety so much, is because I know it does affect people. It affects the fun in group settings. Like, I was on a boat yacht day in Dubai with like all my castmates, and I'm sitting there having a full-blown panic attack as we're like going through the ocean, like just on a boat, living everybody's best life. Everybody's like having so much fun, and I like look at people, I'm like, why can't that be me? Like, why can't I just have fun in situations? Like, I am so stressed on boats, around water, any form of transportation. So yeah, that's my struggle with anxiety. And I hate that. I think the biggest thing with anxiety for me is that I hate making other people feel like, this girl's taking away my fun because she has anxiety. I think that's also what like triggers my anxiety, is that I have this like thought in my mind where it's like, I can't have anxiety because I'm gonna ruin everybody else's time around me. So then I have anxiety about not having anxiety, which like is like anxiety times 100. Like, Liz, you can't have a panic attack right now because everybody's day is gonna be ruined, and they're gonna look at you like you're some weird girl that has panic attacks for no reason, and then everybody's gonna hate you, and then you're going to ruin the day, and then you're going to be sad, and then you're not going to have friends, and then you're going to, girl, like, and then you're going to be the reason why this whole event shuts down. Like, please, nobody cares that much. Like, that's where my mind goes. And I hate feeling like I'm going to burden somebody else's time because of my anxiety. So it's something I'm working through right now. Let me know if you guys struggle with this as well. And don't worry, it's not all anxiety over here. This episode is just about anxiety. So yes, we're talking about it and it feels a lot more like, oh my gosh, this girl has so much anxiety, but there are happy times. Don't you worry. But it is something that I struggle with every day, and I wanted to be honest with you guys, and I wanted to talk about it because I know I'm not the only one. I've had so many conversations with people that have even just like social anxiety. Like, I have a fear of dying. Like, clearly I'm like afraid of every situation I put myself in. I like literally think the worst in every situation. And I know there are other people out there like that. And gosh, I feel so bad for my kids. I feel like I need to figure my shit out. So when I have kids, I'm not literally off like batshit crazy with my kids, because I'm extremely protective. Like, literally when George leaves the house, I'm like, please text me when you're there. Don't text and drive. Like, please let me know when you're on your way home. Like, because I just want everybody to be safe. So yeah, if you guys struggle with anxiety like me and are navigating that, I would love to have a talk with you and chat about it, because I know I'm not the only one. But we're working through it. We all have our things. Anxiety is my biggest thing that I struggle with every single day. So anyway, I love you guys. And I hope that this episode shed some light on, chronic anxieties, panic attacks, people that struggle a little bit more than the average human with just like feeling a little on edge. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share this episode with somebody maybe that has anxiety, share this with somebody that like maybe feels like, oh, I'm alone in this. I promise you, girl or boy, like, you are not alone in anxiety. Like, so many people have it, so many people struggle with it, and so many people struggle with it behind closed doors that you wouldn't even know like that person has anxiety. So if you look at my page and you're like, oh my gosh, she's so blah, 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 whatever you think of me, and anxiety wasn't one of those things, this is me coming on here to tell you I have anxiety, and that is like a main reason why I started this podcast. So thank you for bearing with me with my stuffed nose, my congested self. I should go take medicine. But I love you guys. Happy Tuesday. Keep pushing, keep going. Life is beautiful regardless of the situation and the struggles that you have. You have a purpose here, and I know my purpose is far beyond my anxiety, and I know I can use it to do good things. So I love you. How many times am I going to say that? I just want everybody to know that they're loved. I'm very lovey. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to Unposted Podcast. My name is Liz Bezler, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.